Who's actually going to get the most out of the BURRIS Veracity 25x50mm, and who should just walk away? If you've been eyeing a variable power scope for mixed game hunting or long-range plinking, the question usually comes down to whether the extra zoom range and low-light illumination translate into real-world advantage without draining your budget. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video, I'm going to walk through the moments that make this scope click for some shooters, the situations where it feels a little heavy-handed, and whether the price point lands where everyday buyers expect it to. First off, the biggest draw on the Veracity is its 5-25 zoom. In theory, that's a huge flexibility win. You can start a deer hunt at 150 yards with a low power setting, then crank up to 400+ yards without swapping optics. In practice, I tested that range swing on a weekend outing in the Colorado backcountry. The lower end gave me a wide field of view that let me track moving elk through dense brush, and the higher end, when I switched to 22, still delivered a clear picture of a distant buck at about 420 yards. The illumination was a game-changer at dusk. The red LED stayed bright enough to see reticle details without spooking the animal, and the green option helped when the sky was overcast. Those moments matter because a lot of hunters decide whether a shot is viable in those thin light windows. That said, the zoom isn't without trade-offs. The first time I dialed from 5 straight to 20, the reticles seemed to float a touch, which is something you notice when you're trying to make a precise hold under pressure. The scope's first focus design means the reticle sits at the front focal plane, which is great for range finding and milled-out work, but it can feel a bit jumpy when you're using high magnification on a moving target. In my tests, I found that once I got used to the dial's click-stop feel, the repeatability improved, but it still required a deliberate pause before each click. If you're a fast-draw tactical shooter who needs split-second adjustments, that extra mental step might feel like a slowdown. Now, who should actually consider buying this? The Veracity shines for hunters and long-range shooters who value a single optic that can cover a wide variety of distances without sacrificing low-light clarity. If you're chasing whitetail in the early morning, then later moving to a ridge for elk at 500 yards, the 525 range means you're not lugging two scopes. The illuminated reticle and the claimed rural reliability hold up when you're dealing with dust, occasional rain, and the occasional bump from a tree branch. The 4.1-star rating from 47 reviewers suggests that most owners feel they got what they paid for, especially given the rugged housing that survived a drop from a low branch without any loss of zero. On the flip side, if you're a pure distance shooter who spends most of your time at 400 yards or beyond, you might be better off with a dedicated 39 or 624 scope that's tuned for a narrower band. The Veracity's larger objective lens adds weight. It's noticeably heavier than a 39 with a similar tube length, so on a lightweight pack-and-hunt day that extra ounce could become a nuisance. Also, the 0.5 MOA first focus reticle, while fine for most game, may feel a bit coarse for precision target work where sub-MOA clicks matter. If you're looking for a competition-grade optic, the Veracity is a solid hunting tool, but not a specialized match scope. What about the practical strengths beyond the headline features? The fast, repeatable dialing actually saves time when you're shifting from a close shot to a far one on the same animal. I spent less than a second moving from 5 to 15 while still keeping the reticle level, which meant I could stay on target instead of hunting for the right setting. The low-light clarity is backed up by a decent lens coating that reduces glare, something you notice when you're aiming at a rabbit on a foggy morning. The image stays crisp, and the illuminated reticle doesn't bleed into the background. Finally, the rugged construction lives up to the backcountry reliability claim. After a week of shooting in dusty conditions, there was no fogging inside the tubes, and the waterproof seal held up when I got caught in a sudden thunderstorm. Weaknesses are subtle but worth noting. The scope's eye relief at higher magnifications becomes tighter, meaning you need to keep your cheek firmly planted on the stock, which can be uncomfortable for shooters with longer cheek rests or those who prefer a more relaxed head position. Also, the illuminated reticle runs on a single AA battery that's not user-replaceable without opening the tube. You have to pop the rear cap, which isn't ideal if you're out in the field and the battery dies unexpectedly. Lastly, the price sits in the mid-range for variable scopes, so for a casual shooter who only needs a 39 for weekend trips, The extra zoom may feel like paying for features you'll never use. Wrapping it up, the BURRIS Veracity.